Hello, and welcome to the fourth, I think, update in the series. I will make sure that the title of this video does reflect the number we're up to, but if I'm honest, I've totally forgotten. We are going to show you today the cave tank, which you will have seen the recent build video from last year. And as you can see at a quick glance, it has grown very jungly, which is what I was hoping for. But as with the other updates, this is prior to a maintenance session, so it does need a little bit of work doing to it. I will try and show that maintenance session. I don't often tend to record maintenance, but it will be useful to have one up, I think, for some people, so we'll see if we can get that one recorded. But for now, I will just go through and show you how we're doing and show you a few of the fish in there that you won't have seen before. So this is how we've got to now. So we've got a lovely little cave here. Apologies for the reflections, it's quite a bright room. As you can see, I'm having a pyjama bottoms afternoon. So this gives quite a nice look through into the cave, where you can see actually the plants in there are doing quite well despite the low light. This is what we planted up with cryptocorini and a little bit of anubias in the foreground there, and a little bit of bucephalandra you can just about see in the background there. But yeah, there's sufficient light that's coming down through that light hole, as you can see, to enable the plants to grow quite nicely. And we've got these doing really well. So this one's sprouted quite a lot, this variegated anubias. It's quite nice, doing quite well, pulling nutrients from the water. And these two are the surprising ones. These actually came from the old tank and were covered in algae. So that anubias there and the bucephalandra there, and they've done really well. We've got a little bit of a nutrient problem with the, oh god, I can't remember this one. It's Monte Carlo I think it's called. So you can see that that's not done quite so well. We built this cave using a shallow planting tray, so actually there's not a huge amount of depth there in terms of nutrients, and as I've said before with some of my other tanks, I'm not very good at remembering to dose with fertiliser. But the cherry shrimps like it, as you can see. We've got a couple there in the shop, and it does give a nice carpet of green that we're looking at. And you can see the other little plants in between the really small crypt parva there, I believe. Just gives it a bit of texture. And we've obviously got the longer stem grasses towards the back there. So you'll notice there's a slight change to the anubias at the back. That is because the anubias that we had that was from the other tank that was covered in algae didn't survive. It was just too fully covered. It just wasn't able to take in the light. So that died back and we had to remove it. I do need to trim off that plant leaf there. Again, I think it's probably a nutrients issue, so I really do need to start dosing this tank properly. Because you'll notice a similar theme with some of the other plants. But the one thing that has done really well is the crypts. So as you can see down here, we have some quite large growth for these crypts, particularly the one that was placed in the entrance there to the cave. That's covered it almost completely. So I will take a couple of those leaves off and open it up a bit more to give a bit more space. And the other thing that's done really well is the hairgrass. So could do with a little bit of a trim, but you can actually see the roots there as it spread its runners along the bottom, so that's nice and healthy. Got plenty of room to grow. And again, it's just a really nice place for all the shrimp to nibble on. Little bits of detritus that land in there. So yeah, the shame of it is that that little variegated Anubias is getting a little bit lost, so we'll trim those back a bit so that you can see that again. And then you've got this madness. So this is a stem plant. It's really good for absorbing nutrients out of the water. It's doing really well, but as you can see, it's getting a bit heavy and overbearing for the tank at the moment. So I will hack that right back. Which will be a shame because we'll lose some of the nice reddish tips to it, but they'll grow back in no time. They appear to like the light in this, so I don't think we'll have any issues with that. So onto the critters. So we've got some nice Ember tetras. You can see now in comparison to the other video, these have coloured up nicely now that they've been in here for a while. This is probably about 4 months, I think, since the video. You can see a couple of, look! So this little one is a little fish we've named Wonky. So he's obviously got a birth defect, that means that his tail is bent. So we took him on, the fish shop was kind enough to give him to us for free. Normally you wouldn't see them in fish shops because the suppliers wouldn't provide them, but he just happened to slip in. And to be perfectly honest, he survives very well in this tank. He doesn't appear to be bothered by any of the other fish. He is happy, swims around quite fast considering his little deformity, but actually he eats as well as the rest of them. The only trouble we have occasionally is sometimes if he finds himself stuck in that back corner, the flow from the outlet here is pointing in that direction, so it can be a little bit powerful for him at times. So if he does get himself in that back corner, he gets a little bit stuck, but we just keep an eye on him, and if we don't see him, we check the corner and we nudge him out of it, and he's usually quite happy. So along with Wonky, who is a copper rasbora, we also have the other copper rasboras in here. Some a little bit more coloured up than the others. And we also have some Chilli rasbora, which you can just about see up there behind the plants. There we go. So they do quite like it up there. You've also noticed we have some zebra danios. Now this was initially unintentional. These were a couple of little fry that we happened to find in our water butt after we'd done a clean of the other tank. And at the time they were so small you couldn't identify them in terms of colour. So to keep them safe, because we've got a lot of big fish in the other tanks, we pop them in here for them to grow out. And they turned out to be zebra danios from our peninsula tank. The intention is at some point to remove them from here, get them reacclimatised to the cold water and pop them back in. I just haven't been brave enough to face trying to catch them out of this current plant chaos. So they may stay in here forever, but I think aesthetic wise we might try and move them across to the other tank. So the other fish that you might have seen darting about in this little video is we've got a trio of swordtails. Now, of course, that I've stopped doing the video elsewhere, they've decided to hide it at the back there, but we've got 2 red swordtail females, and we did have a male. Not sure why, but he didn't survive, unfortunately. So we actually then got a pineapple male to go with the ladies. I was just trying to see if I could get a little shot from behind, but I don't think you're going to be able to see them at the moment, so I'm going to try and stay back and hope they come out again. It's the little pineapple swordtail. He is yellow with some orange markings on them. We haven't seen any fry yet. We think they are probably being predated. Sorry, I've just spotted them around the side of the tank here. There we go. So that's one of the females there. And there's our little male there. So a lovely coloration on that male. There is a little unintentional cave towards the back of this cave, which was made by the black foam producing an air hollow, and they seem to basically spend most of their time back there, so I think they are having their young in that area, but like I said, I think they're being predated on the young. I think either by the parents or by some of the others in the tank. I've mentioned before we did have some 5-banded barbs in this tank, but actually they don't do very well in terms of transfer, and actually we did lose pretty much all of them. We've now just got this one here, and as you can see he's hovering back there, so I think the predation on any of the fry that the swordtails are producing is probably a combination of this one and the parents. Doesn't seem to show any signs of stress. He tends to school with the rasbora mostly, as he's a little bit bigger than them, but relatively similar in size. So he appears to be quite happy. But at some point we're going to try and get some more. We're just letting the tank, you know, settle as much as we can, and we'll consider adding some more. Certainly I want to do the maintenance session before we add more of these fish into here, because the plants take up quite a lot of space, so it doesn't give them a huge amount of swim room. So just want to increase the swim room a bit more before we start adding any more fish into this. Now I'm going to try and find one, but we do also have some little plecos in here. They do blend in quite well, so I don't know whether I can get a shot of them at all. I'm just going to have a little look around the tank. They blend in very well to the rocks, and they do hide quite often, so I may not be able to get some for you today, but I'll see if I can find one for you to have a look at. Can't see them. They're definitely in there. I saw them earlier on this morning. So, but it's always a task, because there's basically 3 things I check on when I check on these tanks. I make sure that the fish are okay, that I can spot them. So certainly that means kind of keeping an eye out for the 3 swordtails, because they do have a tendency to hide quite a bit. I then check on Wonky to make sure he's still around and he's not stuck in the corner somewhere. I check on the health of the fish, particularly fins, because they're usually obvious signs of stress if their fins start getting a bit frayed. And I do try and then see if I can find as many of the 3 plecos as I can. But yeah, that one's a little bit harder. Anyway, I've talked for long enough now. This one's a little bit longer than the other ones. I know there are a few people keen to see how this progresses, so hopefully this has been good for you. So I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time. Just before I go, I found one. There we go. I can get the focus on him. There he is. So that's one of our 3 plecos we've got in here helping us out with the algae. Along with the shrimp. And just to show you, we do have quite a variety of shrimp in this tank. If he's still down here, there he is. There's a nice orange shrimp there. And a green one there. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you again next time.